I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Jonny Smith.
And this is On the Other Side of Things, in which we answer questions from a live audience in London! Has anyone got a question?
Oh, there was one right there.
Johnny's on the roving mic.
I'm roving it.
Heading down.
Yeah.
Like a coiled thing.
Hey? No, you don't have to stand up, no.
Good evening. I noticed the other day that my local Peugeot dealership has changed its name to Stellantis and You. And I wondered what stupid names for car garages you've come across in your careers.
I mean, I was always slightly thrown off. In fact, it's near you, isn't it? It's in the town where you live, that there's Harrison Ford.
Yeah. Yeah, there is, yeah.
No, it's not a stupid name. It's
That's
quite
right.
a good name, but you just sort of... I don't know.
Yeah, T.C. Harrison Ford.
Oh, it's T.C. Harrison. Is that how they've ducked the legal action? Because they'll go, no, we're T.C. Harrison Ford.
Yeah, no one talks about the T.C. It's straight to Harrison for that dealership.
But...
yeah, I've bought one thing from them in 23 years.
What was that?
Aftermarket Isofix conversion kit for a Focus that didn't come with Isofix as standard. Anyway, thanks for asking. Anyone else got a question?
There was, when I was growing up, funny enough, it was a Peugeot dealer in Stockport near Manchester. The local Peugeot dealer was called County Motors. And in those days, Peugeot dealerships had sort of blue panels, if you remember this. And each letter was on an individual panel. And God, I wanted to steal the O panel. For no other reason than it would have amused me. They were perfectly nice people. I think my dad bought a 405 off them, but yes.
Well, Dick Lovett. And I just wish there was a comma in there. Because I think it would brighten up the dullest of days. So there.
Hang on, but then would it also benefit if we're getting the punctuation set out? Could we have comma and then at the end, question mark?
You can choose exclamation mark, question mark, or 3 dots. Just to...
Yeah, because it can go many ways, can't it? Dick, love it.
Yeah.
Or Dick, love it.
Oh, would it be a Dick question mark?
Dick, question mark, love it, exclamation mark.
You'd walk in and go, guys, I just want to buy a BMW. Can we just not faff around?
I'm a broad-minded kind of guy, but I really just want a 3 Series.
Yeah.
What, sorry?
A threesome series. That's very, very good. Yeah, Dick Lovett.
God, don't go any bigger than that. It's going to get busy.
They don't sell so many 7s anymore. There was a time. And the 8.
It does also question the 1 Series as a thing, but there we go. I don't know. I mean, it's quite near me, Dick Lovett, or one of their showrooms, the one in Swindon. So I might get down there with the white emulsion, see what happens. 2002.
Oh, yeah. Dick's, he sat that one out.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, do we have another question? A chap here on the aisle. I'm going to go down here because it seems like easy pickings. You, sir.
Evening, guys. What's the dodgiest thing you've ever been offered in a service station? My brother was offered a choice of marinas in the 70s off the transporter brand new.
I was offered a 3 Series and I completely misunderstood, thought I was getting a medium-sized BMW, so... I don't know. I mean...
Did you say he was offered a car?
A marina off a transporter.
Oh, and your brother went, nah. Do you know what? I'm all right.
Yeah. No money needed to change hands. You can just have it. Nope, still okay, thanks.
In the services, it wasn't in services. When I was at university, I went with my friend Pete to Summerfield to get some food and also cheap lager. And he had a car. I didn't have a car at university, and he had a Skoda Favourite. That's not interesting. But we'd gone shopping and we'd come back to the car and we were loading the boot up, and these 2 fellas came over out of a van and went, "You guys look like audiophiles." He definitely said audiophiles.
People who interfere with audio.
Put it this way, it didn't offend me. And he said, we're sound engineers, and we've just come back from a gig, and we've got this spare set of speakers, and we could do with earning a bit of money, and the boss doesn't know we signed them out. Do you fancy it? And us being 18-year-olds, I think we were 18, we're like, well, can we have a look? We went round to the van and saw these speakers, and they were enormous. And we went, well, how much are you looking for them? I mean, I was like, these look great. And they went, well, make us an offer. Well, 5 minutes later, I went to the cash machine and I took all the money out that I had for the rest of term for food and drink, and I bought them. And that's why my rooms sounded the best in our shared house. I had them up until about 5 years ago.
2 questions. Well, because I thought you were going to say you got them home and it turned out they were 2 black boxes full of sand.
No, they were real.
They were real speakers.
They were real speakers.
How much did you pay for them?
I think I paid about 260 quid for them.
Okay.
And I felt like it was okay.
Yeah.
They worked. I remember because we used to not share a house, but it was a semi-detached student hovel, and the people on the other side were air hostesses, and sometimes they used to come around crying, saying that they needed to sleep. Please, can you stop playing music? And can your mate stop doing bongs and shouting? And so, whoever those women were, just want to say sorry. We were an absolute cluster of flutes.
Yeah. I hear
different
your
times
complaints.
in 1998. Different times.
I hear your complaints, but the exit is located here or here. Now, fuck off.
Yeah. So that I have. But I don't think I've been offered anything else.
I used to, when I used to go back to the northwest more and drive up the M6, and I would stop at Knutsford Services because it's one of those service areas where there's a cheeky back exit that only locals know about. We all got one of those, you know what I mean, where you can just go, ah.
And there's no glory holing there.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
No, I'm not like, it's not euphemistic. There's just a road that goes out.
No,
onto the main road
I
behind.
know.
But so
I know.
But quite often I get off the motorway and I go, actually, I've still got like another sort of 20 minutes, half an hour to drive. So I'll use the loo at Knutsford Services. And for some reason, Knutsford Services did seem to be for a while a little bit of a hotbed of. I'm going to do a Liverpool accent. I'm not trying to besmirch the people of Liverpool, but it did often seem to be a guy who'd go, all right, mate. So I've been installing some tellies up at them big houses over there, and I've got one spare. Do you want it?
Did you buy one?
No. Because it always seemed really hooky, and also I'd always be like, I'm sorry, but I really need a piss.
Yeah.
Haven't got time to talk about tellies. But then, I can't remember if this happened it wasn't Knutsford Services, but I can't remember if it was another service area, or if this happened when someone knocked on my door at home. A guy who just went, hello, we've been, I can't remember how he expressed it, it's sort of, he didn't say doing up, but we've been working on some new houses in the area.
And we're dodgy. AF.
Well, it's immediately, why are you knocking? I think this was someone came to my front door and just went, do you need any windows? Like, it's not Victorian England. I'm good for windows. The tax has gone. I have the requisite number of windows in my house. But yeah, do you need any windows? I'm like, no. Unless you're planning to put one sort of an extra one on the side or something. No, but I just went, no, I'm good, mate. And he went, good price.
Bargains much cheapness.
But you know when someone says good price, there's a little tiny bit of your kind of stingy monkey brain, or certainly mine, that just goes, good price for windows, you say? I have a little bit of a hoarding instinct. I was just like, might stockpile some windows for later. In case I need some windows.
Really?
I didn't. Because I can imagine my wife getting home and going, why have I got to climb over some windows to get to the kitchen? Well, good price, my dear. Good price.
Well, if anybody's got an amazing story about buying or being offered something hooky in a service station, please email it to us. But in the meantime, we'll ask, again, does anyone want to ask us a question? That was an immediate one right there.
What's the furthest you've gone for a car that was misdescribed? Get my words out. Furthest I went was past Birmingham, which was my first mistake, for a Honda CRX in the 90s that had a hole in the rear seal about as big as my foot.
furthest travelled for rubbish car?
I mean, technically I went 200 miles, but it's a bit of a cheat because I was looking to buy a Mark II Golf GTI in the early 2000s when they were really cheap, or relatively, they were really cheap.
Yeah.
And I kind of fancied a 16 valve.
16 valve.
16 valve. I don't know why, just cause. And then you sort of, it's that thing, isn't it? You go, well, if I'm getting a 16 valve, I might as well get a big bumper and I might as well get oak green because that's what everyone wants. And even then it was sort of like that's the spec to have. So I lived in London at the time, but I was going back to the northwest anyway to see my family, and I seen one for sale in Stockport near Manchester. So I arranged with the man selling it that I would go and see it. And as soon as I pulled up at the house, I had a feeling that all was not well, because the house sort of looked like in the recent past, but the quite near recent past, it had been on fire.
It might be a legit fire, though.
Well, that's it. I mean, fire is not discriminatory. It doesn't just pick on people selling dodgy Golfs.
No, it's true.
But there was just, the house was in a bad state of repair. And I just thought immediately, if you can't look after your house, can you look after your Mark II Golf 16 valve? So the car seemed okay when I looked at it superficially. But the guy went, yeah, all right, man, just go and get the keys. And he came back and it had 3 different keys.
Yeah.
And at that point, that is a tornado red flag. That was a terribly geeky VW joke. And I test drove it. I actually drove all right. And there's a part of me going, oh, hello. I mean, this is okay. But it smelt wrong. And then I had a little poke around it when we got back. And then I think it might have been 2 Golfs welded together. Because those Mark II Golfs, there's a sticker on the inside the boot, and it's always a way of telling if it's a super original car. And I think there's one under the bonnet as well. I can't remember. I did a lot of research on this before I looked at the car, and those were all missing. And there were some other things about it that were, but it did actually drive quite nicely. So it could have been okay. But again, never buy a car off a man who's recently set fire to his own house.
I mean, I've been to quite fair distances, but I've nearly always bought the car, or I've got someone to pick it up for me. But I was selling a car when I lived in London, my first Ford Granada. And it took a long time to sell it because it was a custom car. And I had these guys come down from Norwich. I didn't even know where Norwich was, to be honest, at that time. I also didn't care. So they came and they looked around the car and they picked the car to bits, even though I wasn't asking a great deal of money for it. And they got, within a space of about half an hour, they got so angry that they threatened me with my life.
What?
Because they said the car wasn't as good as I said it was. And they asked on the spot for me to pay for their fuel money there and back.
What?
Absolutely. They were serious.
And there were 3 of them.
Yep.
Did you pay?
No, I did a fuck.
You just gave them a couple of speakers that you got like.
Yeah. I just said, I described it as well as I thought it was, and here it is, and it's up to you. It's your choice. If you don't want it, just go. And then he said, it won't be there in the morning. He did a proper full, so I had to drive it somewhere else in the neighbourhood and leave it.
Oh, God.
I didn't sleep that night at all.
No.
Yeah, I know. What an absolute flute.
Yeah, that's not that's breaking the
not
rules
cool.
of engagement.
Not cool.
No.
I was going to do a sort of like Liam Neeson from Taken and sit in it all night. All night in the reclined position, like stony, like that, and just wait for them, and then do them.
Do them.
I was going to do them, not for the money, just for the justice.
Just for the game.
Yeah, I was going to. But remember, kids, always use a cricket bat, not a baseball bat, because in the UK we don't play baseball, so no police person is ever going to believe you. That you were just, I was popping to my local baseball game. No, you weren't. You're a vigilante. Cricket bat, different matter. We play it here. It's true.
Okay, on that dark note, does anyone else have a question? Unless you're from the police, in which case Johnny will talk to you later. I'm going to just come here on the aisle because it's easy. Hello.
Richard, great to hear about your latest car purchase. Are you prepared to tell us about what happened with the sale of your Range Rover?
Now,
The curse.
I forgot to do something at the start of this show before we begin recording, which is to do the normal disclaimer of saying, I will not be taking questions about my Range Rover. And the reason I won't be taking questions is because this is ridiculous. It's over a year since supposedly that car was sold. I'm still dealing with the situation that has arisen
What?
from me selling my Range Rover. So I still can't talk about, just because I've got a few things that I need to square away.
Yeah, game of
Technically, the
cricket.
car was sold. I do need to say, I'll say something now while we're recording, which is that I originally tried to sell the car through collecting cars, and it looked superficially like it sold through collecting cars. It didn't, but that was nothing to do with collecting cars. They did nothing wrong. The guy who bought it backed out of the sale for a very legitimate reason, but it left me with the car, and then some problems arose. And I very, very soon, I will tell this story, but I just need to sort out some stuff.
Who's
because-
playing you in this movie epic when it comes to...
Well,
And who's
it
playing
may
the guy
yet
who
have to be
fleeced you?
Liam Neeson,
Of course. Of course.
because I have a very particular set of skills.
Yes, you do. Yes.
But that set of skills is, in fact, as this podcast makes clear, just being able to talk shite. But I do happily have the platform of Britain's number 1 or 2 or maybe 3 or
We're on the
4.
podium.
We're definitely on the podium
frequently.
podcast. There are a couple of people who may need to be called out, but I just need to...
Hang on, is this Death
Okay,
in
so anyway,
Paradise?
that's where I'm going to leave that.
Any questions? Wow. God, there's so many. Well,
Down
I'll
the
try and
front.
rattle through you simply because I don't have to walk as far.
Suddenly, the world is rid of all Porsche 964s. So, Singer are goosed. Which car are you reimagining?
This is funny because I was talking about this the other day with Stu Gallagher, the editor of Evo. The 964s are going to run out. They just are, because there are too many resto-mods. And we were then talking about Porsche 924s, a fairly unloved Porsche. But I really like the look of a very early 924. But I also know they're quite dismal to drive. So I would love a resto-modded early 924. But if Singer did it, based on the way they do 911s, take a 90s one, make it look like a 60s one, they would have to buy immaculate 968s and then 924-ize them, which feels a bit weird. But if anyone's going to do it well, it's going to be Singer, because Rob and all the people there are absolute detail fiends. And I would love to see what they would do. I think it would be mega.
I'm going to go with the Fiat Ulysses. On the basis that I don't think there are any around.
But well, hang on, what are they going to backdate it to? Like a Lancia Mega Gamma?
I haven't thought about that bit yet. However, I thought about the drivetrain could be a Porsche Cayenne Turbo.
Okay.
Now, okay, it's not sticking with the same brand, which is, cross-pollination.
I feel like some of the engine may be in the interior.
I think it could be amazing.
Could be.
I think it could be beautiful.
Yeah.
Or,
Can I put my drink in the cup holder? Only if you want it to get hot,
well,
which might be a bonus, keep your coffee warm.
or actually, talking of companies that I guess have got their mojo a bit at the moment, you could get a retro Espace Renault, which is cool.
Yeah.
So you could get let me get this right. You could get a semi-old Espace, make it look like an older Espace, but put the drivetrain in it from the Formula One edition that there is only one of, or maybe two of.
Yeah.
And that would be better than any Singer, possibly.
Well, yeah. I'm Metro people now.
You're with Metro people
I'm just
now.
Metro people.
You are Metro people.
I am Metro. I'm very metrosexual.
You are metrosexual. I know you are. I saw your reaction when I WhatsApp videoed you around that car. It was metrosexual.
But there are people within the Metro community. We're a proud people. And they make 6R4 replicas, but they don't just sort of, put a half-arsed body kit on a front-engine Metro. They go full mid-engined.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. So by the same token, mid-engine dispatch could be within your grasp.
I would do that.
You could even do it with just like a 3.5 V6 out of a Laguna or a Velsatis or something,
Yeah. Breathed on.
but make it look like a Mark 1 Espace.
Yeah. I'd love that.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
that-
That's that one wrapped
On
up.
that side of thing. But don't
Do
make
we
it
have?
look
I'm going to go
Harold
up the
Shipman.
back. Do we have a question from the back of the room?
Hey, Richard. So there's some pretty impressive metal and maybe carbon fiber outside. The usual question would be money, no object. What would you guys pick? But I thought maybe it was more appropriate to ask money very much an object. What would make an optimal part of the Smith and Sniff fleet? And I've got a couple of suggestions to get you started. There's a particularly ugly airbrushed Vespa outside that I think goes really well with Johnny's fairground obsession. And there's also quite a seedy looking 3-litre Capri towards the bottom of the field that I think would work pretty well. So, what do you guys think?
Are you giving us a budget or just saying go as low as you can?
I think go as low as you can, and you might have to do a bit of bartering given some of what I've seen.
So money is an object or money is not an
Money
object?
is very much an object.
Very much
This
an
is Smith and
object.
Smith.
Right, just so we know.
So essentially, can you leave here with a car that you really want for as little money as possible?
Well, that you don't really want, but at least it's entertaining for.
Well, I think there was a Berlingo van over there that's just doing like the sort of maintenance. But have you seen? There's a Thundersley Invacar, one of
Yes.
the 80s.
yes.
And I have a bit of a soft spot for those because they're a sort of fixture of my childhood that doesn't exist anymore. But it really bothers me. I think the one out there, it's the wrong colour. It is the wrong colour, isn't it?
Why is it on a concourse lawn if it's the wrong
talk to
colour?
this. A man who very enthusiastically went, yes, it is the wrong colour, isn't it?
Pale blue, not that light blue.
It's wrong.
He told us that he sent it to a guy who said he would do it for really cheap, and it just ended up being the wrong colour.
Oh no!
Right, note to self.
Well, there's a salutary lesson here. For
If you're
never
ever
go
thinking-
cheap on paint.
If you're ever thinking of repainting a car, and I mean this, I'm not just taking the piss, don't do the cheapest job you can. Just simply don't do it. It's so much better to just not paint a car if you're going to do it on the cheap, because cheap repaints are just total mud, total dog's mud. And the car
Well, you
will
say
never
that,
be the
Johnny,
same
but I
again.
have here this book that you gave me.
Oh,
Do your own car spraying that
Wow.
says different. So perhaps you and do your own car spraying would like to step outside.
well, what's the author's name again?
Paul Revere,
Yeah, Paul.
the American Revolutionary War hero.
In fact,
Was it? I don't know if he's a hero or whether he was on the other side, but
actually, he's out there right now. You know, there's a Phantom Rolls in the corner.
well, he's just got some cling film over the windows, and he's rattle canning the shit out of it.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's got a pastry brush
That's
that he's
terribly
touching in the
sad,
back
though,
arches.
that the guy wanted it the right colour and they frigged him over. Oh man,
That's awful.
because that's the thing. The colour it is sort of swishy, and the colour it should be is medical.
Yes, it is medical.
You like an EV swap and
Yes.
a retro small car.
Yes.
You should EV swap a Thundersley Invacar.
Yeah, but it would kill me. I just think it's one of those cars where if
maybe.
you're tickled with it, it will just kill you.
We don't have long left. Should we do another question?
I just want to answer that question about.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
I've just thought about it. So it's going to be a Mazda RX-8 because I still think they're quite worthless, especially if the engines are blown. So we'd get a blown-engined RX-8.
But there's not one here. You have to take something home from here.
Oh gosh,
Unless you've brought a blown engine RX-8.
no, I didn't. No, I didn't. Okay, scrap that. But
That's what RX-8 owners always say.
But one thing that would be really nice to have as part of the Smith and Sniff portfolio of vehicles would be an RX-8 engine blown, buy it cheap. Ford EcoBoost 3-cylinder just put in there somehow,
Okay.
and then Funfair airbrushed all over it. Imagery of wankel engines that aren't actually in your own car, and pictures of, I think, Richard being pally with Michael Schumacher whilst wearing race suits. That's where I'm at. Okay, take it or leave
What
it.
about if we buy this RX-8
Yeah.
and we're each allowed a side to airbrush to our specification?
Oh, there's a Smith side and a Sniff side.
Yeah, so your side, you can depict me with my arm around Michael Schumacher. Both of us don't really look like ourselves because it's airbrushing. and we're wearing Nomex.
You look like Barry Manilow and Michael.
Yeah. and Michael Schumacher looks like Celine Dion. And I think on your side, I'm going to really stitch you up by having this car is driven by TV's Johnny Smith written in really big letters up the side.
You bastard.
So you can't go anywhere without people going, what? Hey, is he really?
Or I'd have a Perspex bonnet, and behind it, instead of you actually seeing the engine, it's another airbrushing of Sade holding a rotary engine like the schematics. You know, like Mystic Meg with the crystal ball going, sort of like a sign of worship, but
Actually,
underneath is a Ford 3-cylinder EcoBoost, basically.
Scratch that. My airbrush side is you and me with Sade.
Yes.
All smiling. But unfortunately, we all look like we've melted. Or blown a rotor tip.
Well, we've all been down that road.
Right, go on. We can do one more question, I think. Oh, gosh. There's a lot of...
There's a lot. I'm going to do that one now.
Or we could do like rapid fire.
Yeah, let's do rapid fire.
Right, sort of the opposite of the last question. Money's no object, and you're allowed to take any of the cars from out there home.
288 GTO. Next question.
No, but it must be converted into a limo.
Oh, all right, scratch that.
Wow, that's a fantastic question.
All right, in that case, Renault 4 Plan Air that's outside.
Oh, yeah.
What, 6? Oh, there's my phone going off.
It's got to get
Telling
up.
us we've got to end. Yeah, 6 or 8 seats maybe in the Plan Air. Bit of wicker going on.
I'm trying to think of all the cars really quickly.
Peel P50,
The Peel
yeah.
P50, what a bloody amazing idea.
A stretched Peel.
So that you'd take the smallest car in the world and I'd make it 25 feet long.
Yeah. But still incredibly narrow. It becomes like a sort of driving pencil. Go on, can we do one more question from sort of down? There we go, like chap here. I'm gonna.
I love a Peel. Bloody love a Peel.
Hi.
Has anyone ever driven a real bubble car? Not necessarily a Peel, but a real bubble car, like an Isetta, a Messerschmitt. Has anyone ever driven one? Right, they're terrifying. But they're so much fun. Everyone goes, oh, it's so cute. And at 28 miles an hour, you think you're definitely going to die. There's no way. There is no way you're going to reach a destination without getting either amputee. It's just so scary. Anyway, come on.
Have you had a car equivalent of shirtcocking, where you look in a mirror and you go, God, this is a terrible look?
Shirtcocking. I just love that term. It's so good. That's an Americanism, shirtcocking. It totally is. You know it is.
There was years ago the second gen Mini Cooper S. I thought that the rear bumper wasn't deep enough, and you could see a bit too much. That was kind of shirtcocking. So a bit like, Alpha 147.
Yeah.
It looks, the exhaust, it's got a massive exhaust back box behind the bumper, and you can see it, and then the pipe sticks out, and it just looks like a robot with an erection.
There is a bit of that.
And so I think that's shirtcock. In terms of sort of looking in the mirror, I don't know.
The Ford cab that was based upon the Fiat 500.
Yes.
With a totally visible and actually quite dismal looking rear silencer.
Yeah.
That's an absolute shirtcock.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm always going to despise that car for what it robbed me of. It robbed me of driving a Bugatti Veyron up Prescott Hill Climb competitively, but I couldn't because I was on the Ford car launch and I'd already committed to it. For fuck's sake.
What an incredibly specific beef.
Massive beef. Like monumental beef. And it was a gash car. And I said it was in the review.
It was a bit of a gash car because when my wife, because she learnt to drive in a different country, had to redo her driving test in the UK, and she kept putting it off. And one night we'd gone out for drinks, and I may have had a couple of wines, and I said, if you just get on and pass your UK driving test, I'll buy you a car. And in my head, it was a 500 quid Yaris, but it somehow became a Fiat 500 Twin Air.
Yeah.
But in the interim, I thought, maybe I'll get one of those Ford Cas because it's a 500 underneath. Of course, this didn't wash with my wife, who just wanted a 500 because she thought they looked cool. But I spoke to someone we know who worked at Ford, and I said, "Can I borrow a
Work where?
Ford's?"
That was. I could see everyone's itching to do it. After me. 3, 2, 1. Forward. So good. So good.
It always scares me, that. Yeah. But that guy we know used to work at Ford's. I said, "Can I borrow a car, please? Because I'm thinking I might buy one." And he went, "No, don't do that. I'll get you a Fiesta if you want one."
Is that what he said? The man out of Ford,
He
actually.
honestly offered me a big discount on a Fiesta if I would agree not to buy a cab.
That's amazing.
And like an idiot, I ended up paying full price for a 500 instead. But
Do you know what a really dismal shirtcock car almost is? The Ford EcoSport. Because it's got like 12-inch wheels. So it's like it's trying to show off something that you definitely shouldn't show off. It's just a bit of a needle dick situation, I think. And that car's an appalling mess, and that should just go away and die. Because it's terrible, and Ford should have never made that car.
well, anyway, before we get bogged down in the complicated business of running a car company, we should probably wrap this up. But thank you ever so much for coming out this evening. Thank you for listening at home. We'll do this all again soon. Until then, goodbye.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. Bye.